of Harlem Eubank. So there we are, literally taped up and ready to go.
The rules. Want you to obey my commands. Tell you to break clean, defend yourselves at all times, boys. Good luck to you both.
Well, a steely stare, wasn't that, between the pair of them? A long, lingering rook. And here we go, getting the action underway tonight. This one's scheduled for 8. First time up to that distance for Harlem Eubank tonight. And up against a talented amateur southpaw in the shape of McDonagh. How much has he learned from the Vinike defeat just over a year ago?
But I think it's just a little bit. He boxes well. He's hard to pin down. And he hasn't got to be a big puncher, but just a little bit more turn from the core. Sometimes when he throws his shots, just get a little bit more weight. Because being a good mover is a good thing, but in the longer distances, they will walk you down in professional. So you just need a little bit more, just enough weight just to stop him from walking through you. That's all he needs. That's all. But he's an improving fighter, is McDonagh. As is Eubank, of course. You can see Eubank there, just see him waving that front hand there, that left hand, just trying to offset the jab there of McDonagh.
McDonagh landed one of those from the southpaw stance just a moment or so ago, missed with a second one. He's trying to feel each other out. No one wanting to commit too much. And both landing there, the right lead, and then it was a terrific body shot in return from Eubank.
That's it. Relax them shoulders, relax them shoulders. Don't rush it, don't rush it. Stay relaxed, stay calm.
I think the majority of boxers seem to have come out of the lockdown period, Barry, fit and motivated. Have used that extra time they've had to get themselves into great nick, and you saw a really sharp left hand and a follow-up from McDonagh.
Yeah, 2 good left hands there from McDonagh, and he did the right thing on the second one, just took a little step back, so nothing came back his way. See that waving of the left hand there, it's just not allowing McDonagh just to get his southpaw jab off, so he's having to look and wait for Eubank to commit himself before he fires that left hand down the centre of the guard. So you've got to keep that head moving there, Eubank, when he slides forward. The right hand and the left hook there from Eubank, and again.
Yeah, he came back with the right too. Both itchy trigger fingers there, and the counter-action close. It's been a good minute or so for Eubank, settling into this.
Nice little left hand. And again, lovely shot there from McDonagh.
Just beating Eubank to the punch. Getting a good start to the round for McDonagh. Then a good sort of second third of it from Eubank, and then back McDonagh just towards the end. So an interesting opener this. Very interesting start. Not an easy one to score that. Interesting, though, it seemed a distinct ploy by Eubank and his team to target the body early on, Barry.
It did, yeah. And he's doing the right thing, Eubank. He's waving that left hand in front, and also he's coming low with his attacks. His front foot's still inside the right foot of McDonagh, but he's coming in low, so it makes it easier to hit the target. And McDonagh, I thought, was picking him up quite well at stages as well, in a very close fight. But they both had to look at each other now, so it'll be interesting to see who tries to take the play now in the second round.
Yeah.
Cool. Seconds out. Round 2.
Into round 2 then, scheduled for 8. Intriguing start to proceedings here tonight.
Keep it as it is, Keep it as it is. There you go, there you go. Let's go.
An eagerness, maybe over-eagerness there from Eubank to close the gap.
Well, I think McDonagh stayed nice and calm, to be honest, and I think he could see what was coming. I don't think he held on at the right times and didn't really catch anything. It was an aggressive move from Eubank, but I don't think he really had much success with it.
Eubank, the one who wanted to work when they were tied up in close.
He shows that, Mark, he shows that. He's nice and alert.
And there you can see maybe the game plan for McDonagh and his team to make Eubank miss and then punish him perhaps while he's rushing in.
As he leans over that front foot, Mark, if you go up the middle, he leans over that front foot. There you go.
That's a good shot there from McDonagh. Lovely short left hand.
A lot of upper body movement from Eubank. McDonagh and able to tie him up when they're close.
Good shot, good boy.
He's throwing pumps. I understand it's hard for him to get closer to Eubank, but he's throwing pumps too far out. That right hand was the right idea, but he was just a step and a half outside of distance there. You just slide in with that front foot, so get a little bit lower. You can nick the space when you get a little bit lower. Then in a wider stance, you can bring that front foot a bit closer, and then let that right hand go.
Yeah, just slightly over-eager in this round. I think Eubank, I thought that the thoughtful approach in the first round had borne him some success. He's straight right again, the jab working for McDonagh. I think more importantly, he's got his distance and his footwork going for him in this round.
He's keeping his shape very well, isn't he? Even though Eubank's trying to, when they get close, trying to be a little bit physical. So I think McDonagh's keeping his shape really well and just staying nice and switched on. The concentration's good. That's a lovely right hook there with the missed left uppercut, but a lovely right hook from McDonagh.
Good, now working there, now
Oh, a couple of free shots there from McDonagh out of the clinch. Eubank trying to load up, trying to rough up McDonagh. One on the belt line right at the end of the round, but it was a good 3 minutes for McDonagh.
Okay. You get smothered on the side, right?
Composure under fire there from McDonagh. As Barry said, he kept his shape and he was making Eubank pay for some of those rushes.
Yeah, but it's hard to establish the jab with a southpaw. When you can't establish the jab, you can't find your distance right. So Eubank's trying to do that by being a bit more aggressive, but he needs to get that front foot close. That's the important part. How he does that is obviously down to him and his coach now. In this minute's rest is quite important that they go forward in the next round.
and then roll out. Yes?
10 seconds, bonus.
Then throw into this one. Let's go. Come on.
Seconds out. Round 3.
Into round 3 then. First was pretty tight, tough to score. I'd say that the second looked to have been McDonagh's.
Shots there from Eubank, sorry. Alex's lovely right hand.
And what was the key there, Barry? Because it seemed like he ducked down to his left, got inside, and then let that right hand go.
Yeah, he stayed low, but he stayed low when he threw the shot. I think that might be the difference there. He didn't sort of come up with it.
That's good. Now you got it, right? You got it. That's it.
Maybe one of the cleanest shots we've seen in the first couple of rounds so far, that right hand from Eubank.
See, even there, he missed with that right hand, but at least he touched the target with the left hand with the jab, so he knew he was there to throw the right hand and let it go.
There is only a year between them in age, Barry. It doesn't always look like that in the ring. Sort of boyishness about McDonagh.
That's a nice little left hand there by McDonagh.
He had to take one there, Eubank, to land one, but he was willing to do so. Will it bear any fruit for him?
Yeah, I thought the short right hand was probably the better shot there by Eubank in that little exchange. McDonagh just got to remember to either come out on exit on the left side there, or pivot off the right when his back's to the ropes.
Always been a natural athlete and sportsman. Eubank, of course, from a fighting family very much. His dad was a pro back in the 80s, unlucky to bump into the likes of Kevin Lushing, Andy Holligan in his time, and of course his uncle Chris. Eubank himself needing no introduction.
There was a lovely left uppercut there to start off this little hustle here from McDonagh. Just caught Eubank coming forward. Good right hand though there from Eubank.
And he's letting his hands go. It's not always pretty and they're not always landing, but you cannot fault the effort and the application here from Eubank.
Half blocked that shot, but it was a good little move there from McDonagh, and then held his feet there and that take one back there from Eubank.
He's almost just waiting to time Eubank for that rush, but he was clipped by a couple of right hands there from Eubank. There's about 3 of those or so have got through in this round.
That's it, Mark. Good boy, that's spinning. Good. Spinning. Work with him, Mark. That's it, make him look good.
Nice.
Well, a wild miss with the right, and there's another one, but he did land with the left hand in between those swipes, Eubank, and he had his successes in that round. It is appealingly set up, this one.
Little short left uppercut that McDonagh's hit him with a couple of times, and certainly in that round. So he's closed the gap a bit. He's making, he's putting a little more physical presence there on McDonagh, and that might tire the legs of the man who looks maybe not as physically as strong as him, but still needs to get, as I think the corner was saying there, it's that first shot, the first punch he throws, that needs to be more effective.
Here we are approaching halfway then. McDonagh versus Eubank. Tough one to score this, I think, so far. Oh, both getting through. A bit of tit for tat through this first minute.
It's nice there from McDonagh, lovely there. Little left hand, little spin round there to his right.
He's so keen to get in range to let that right hand go, isn't he, Eubank? I think it's as Paddy says, you've always got to earn your stripes, haven't you, to get there.
It's just harder because he can't land with the jabs. It's hard to judge his distance where he lets his hands go. But again, he sort of did in the first one, got really low, and then that allows you to get that front foot closer. Then you can let that big bomb go of a right hand. But it's McDonagh, the little judgery movements McDonagh makes just makes it hard for maybe to set yourself. But I think he's boxing quite well here, McDonagh. He's under a bit of pressure, but he's staying nice and composed. Even here, oh, good left hand there from Eubank.
Yeah, I think some of the sort of big eye-catching shots have definitely come from Eubank, and maybe a bit more power on them as well. But McDonagh's kept his boxing, he's counter-punched.
That's lovely. Good back down. Good. Every shoulder. Good. That's beautiful, Mark. Good. Lovely. Good. Now work with him. Now work with him. Work with him, Mark. Let's go.
So be careful there, McDonagh. Don't stand too tall. Eubank whips a shot over the top.
That's it. Good. That's it. Lovely. Lovely, Mark. That's it. Keep it from him. Keep it from him. That's it. Take your feet. Good for it. Good. That's it, working there with him, working, good. That's it, edging back, Mark, edging back. Take it out of his rhythm.
Oh, what a shot, big left hand. Is that a fight-turning shot? McDonagh has 40 or so seconds. Huge turnaround this for Eubank.
You got to jump at him, not Eubank, but you got to maintain that distance. You don't get too close to McDonagh to hold, and that left hook rocked McDonagh to the soles of his boots. He's all over the place.
Oh, there's another left hand. There was a right before it as well. The big shot's getting through. There's another one. He's under real pressure here, McDonagh. The legs are wobbling, and he's managed to hang on successfully through the fight so far when he's needed to.
He got a jab to the body here. Eubank and left hand over the top.
Oh, and he gets him again, Eubank. Huge shots for Eubank. Just the 2 stoppages so far in 9, but he's getting through in another terrific left hand. This time to the body, gets in for Eubank. Huge round that for Harlem Eubank, just at a time when perhaps he needed it. It's been a difficult fight to score, I think it's fair to say. People are going to be wondering now whether the scorecards might be immaterial, but if we learned anything from Tetley against Taylor last week, never write the boxer off yet. Well, the knowledge is here. Spencer Fearon joins us live on Fight Night for his take on the scorecards. What did you make of that one, Spencer?
Listen, that was an incredible round because if you look at what McDonagh was doing, McDonagh was fighting very, very sneaky, very smart, throwing trick shots from his southpaw position. But then you could see with Harlem Eubank, he was showing no respect to him. Like from early, he was trying to catch him in and throwing these overhand rights and throwing with the left hooks, and he did. He caught him. So now we're going to see, will the scorecards be really needed?
Seconds out. Round 5.
And we go past halfway, thanks to Spencer. We'll get a word from him again as this one develops. How it develops, where it develops, in what particular order remains to be seen. That was a huge turnaround, Barry.
It was, yeah. I give it 10-9. You could theoretically give that 10-8. He was quite dominant at the end, but I still thought that it was just a 10-9 for me. So I still got McDonagh just slightly ahead, but I think as Spencer was saying, you know, will the scorecards be needed? Because I think there's a certain change of wind, isn't there, now all of a sudden?
You wouldn't say it came out of the blue, but I suppose what you would say is those kind of rugged attacks hadn't been successful up until that point.
I understand that, but I thought it did come out of the blue. I think not that he caught him, the fact that he really shook him, because it was a beautiful shot, and McDonagh sort of just, you know, froze for a little while, even though when that happens, that they're shook up and seriously hurt.
I worry for McDonagh, Barry, and I think it's maybe a testament to how shaken he was, because he took another 3 or 4 heavy shots in the process. But he'd been, first couple of rounds, he'd been holding up close really successfully. Interestingly, when he was hurt there, he pushed Eubank off him, as if he wasn't quite thinking properly.
Just blinking here, McDonagh, and that's maybe the referee needs to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if that's a little tick he has, or I haven't noticed it before, or whether it's a problem with the eye or something, but
I think I caught him doing that early, Barry. It might just be a little tick.
And as boxers, we have plenty of them, don't worry about that. Let's not even go about the Barry Jones shuffle.
Well, I'll tell you what, Barry, McDonagh has done well to kind of get a foothold through this first minute and a half of the 5th.
A little bit slower with that left hander there, McDonagh, and Eubank throwing that right hand over the top. Looking not to get worn there, going in with the head there, Eubank.
Oh, another huge left hand lands from Eubank. And you can see the punches back from McDonagh much, much slower. He's really having to force this. It's getting harder for him, and there's still a minute to go in this 5th. Eubank is getting through. Look how slow those shots are from McDonagh. He's trying so hard.
That's just when you get hurt, your energy drains, but also your confidence of committing yourself to punches when you've been stung a little bit. So that's what's happened here. You just need a little bit of a confidence booster here, not McDonagh, with a bit of success.
I think he's done so well through the first minute, but look at those punches. He looks like he's punching through deep water, McDonagh, and he is in deep water right now towards the end of this 5th.
But look at the rhythm to the work now of Eubank all of a sudden.
And the confidence.
When he was jumping in out of distance, now he's all nice and smooth. The shoulders are loose now. He's rolling those shoulders coming forward.
And he's also happy to bide his time, Barry. I think perhaps he feels it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, but you got to be careful of that, because he's not a massive puncher. So I think, you know, I think he needs. If he looks like he got plenty in the tank, he needs to put it on McDonagh. It's a good right hand again there from Eubank.
2 big rounds back to back for Harlem Eubank. On that occasion, you see from the slow motion, he's stayed there right in range.
Well, he needs to believe in himself now, McDonagh. If he feels okay, if he's not like really knackered and tired, because getting hurt can do that to you. Because he looks like he lost a bit of confidence in throwing those shots, and I understand that. When you get hurt, you tend to let your hands go because you know something's coming back, but you have to find that inner confidence to let your punches go with full flow.
Well, it's not just the fact that the last 2 rounds, the 4th and 5th, have gone to Eubank, and significantly so. It's the momentum and it's the heavy shots that have been landed through those rounds, and successively too. Momentum, everything in boxing, and there's no doubt that the snowball seemingly starting to run downhill towards Martin McDonagh.
He just takes a little bit of a wider step to the left there, Eubank, with that left foot. Then he jabs, then feint the jab to the body and throw that right hand over the top.
And I mentioned at the end of that fifth round, shot. I'll tell you what, that was a beautiful move, that from Eubank. He kind of dipped down and then huge swiping left hand. And there's a dig into the body. It's early on in round 6 when he's starting to make an impression again.
Again, though, if he takes that left foot on the outside, it stops McDonagh from... McDonagh, once he gets hurt, he always goes to the right. So you take that foot to the left, that stops that escape route straight away, and then he can go to work.
I was just about to say at the end of that fifth, the kind of composure and more relaxed approach, the confidence brimming into Eubank's work, whether maybe he was just feeling the pace of the effort he's put in, but the way he's gone about it in the 6th suggests it's just the way he's fighting now.
He's found the distance with that left hook. The good thing is, except for he dips his legs with that left hook, there's no real tell to it. It's nice, smooth. It's not nice, smooth rhythm to it. So it's not no little dip down with the left hand first. He just dips the knees and then he fires in with the left hook. Hard to read, and he's used it very well in the last 3 rounds.
Yes, it's all become an awful lot smoother, hasn't it? Not as forced. It shows you what a little bit of success can do for a fighter.
Good right hand there as well from Eubank.
Or in the case of Eubank, through the last 3 rounds, a lot of success. Building block upon block. And all the while, like the energy bars in a computer game, the stock's just depleting for McDonagh. Having to dip into the reserves now in the last third of the fight.
But on the scorecards, he's still in the fight. I know that the winds have totally changed in Eubank's favour in the last few rounds, but you know, scorecards still a close fight for me. That's a good left hand there from McDonagh.
Yeah, I think you can have a good argument about the first and the third rounds. I think second was clearly McDonagh's. You could have given him the first 3. I gave it the third a 10-10. I thought they kind of shared the pattern of the fight. One had better early on than the other towards the end. So on my card, I've got Eubank just in front, but you could debate the first 3 rounds for sure. Just inches away with that looping right hand, Eubank, who now seems to be gaining control. Well, I suppose the big question now is, you know, Martin McDonagh was out in March, he had a 6-rounder against Chris Adaway. That was on that ESPN Plus bill when we saw Danny Dignam produce that spectacular performance against Alfredo Melli. Dignam, a real middleweight to watch out for coming out of lockdown when he gets his chance. Harlem Eubank, Barry, hasn't been out since last July. Will the year off hurt him down the stretch? We'll see.
I think he's looked just as fresh in the last round as he did in the first, to be honest. Now, especially now he's found his range. He's full of confidence, isn't he? And when you're dictating the pace, it's sometimes easier to produce the better work. All McDonagh needs now is a little bit of success, and now all that confidence that he had in the first few rounds will theoretically come flowing back. Because it's still a close fight on the cards, even though Eubank's, it's all been Eubank in the last 3 rounds.
And we saw last week, didn't we? Oh, what a jab that is. We saw last week Darren Tetley, you know, that the southpaw boxer, his technique, that really did stand the test in the face of the tough, rugged assault from Liam Taylor. And Tetley was still in there fighting and boxing all the way to the final bell. Well, it was a good response, Barry, wasn't it, from McDonagh? And then suddenly the equaliser, the strength and the power through that uppercut from Eubank. That's the punch you remember, and that was the punch that had the effect.
Well, it's the quality of the shots, and or certainly the weight of the shots that are the difference here right now against McDonagh and Eubank. Oh, good left hook again there from Eubank.
And just a little wobble, maybe perhaps more off balance, Eubank, than anything else.
He's a little bit more pop in that left hand there now, McDonagh.
Well, there it is. Set up by the jab, straight down the pipe. Bit of confidence, maybe creeping back into the work of McDonagh.
Oh, good right hand there from Eubank. Lovely shot. Took it well though, McDonagh.
He's taken them all well, hasn't he? Real testament to his fitness and his toughness.
Well, I don't think... far off with that uppercut there, Eubank. I think he showed a good chin, hasn't he?
Yeah.
McDonagh. I just think his confidence has been hit a little bit. And it's shown in some of his work. Again there, look at that, holding his feet, and I took that right. He wouldn't have took that right hand 4 rounds ago.
No, he wouldn't. He would have been out of range. I think it's the sheer weight of the shots that's really forced him into this kind of fight, and he just doesn't quite have the energy to do anything about it.
See, it doesn't look like he's unravelled because he's still keeping his hands up and his elbows tucked in tight. But I think mentally, he's just unravelled a little bit.
Well, it's interesting whether it's meant. I mean, I think it's physical, but I completely take the point with him. You can really see the effect that some of those heavy shots have had on him. And he was on the back of having boxed really well through the early part of that round. He took a few more at the end.
Rides him that left foot, brings it right over to the side and throws that right hand over the top.
Into the final round then. Didn't necessarily look like he'd go this far 4 rounds ago with that dramatic fourth, when no doubt the fight was turned by a couple of solid left hands from Harlem at Eubank. He's already gone into uncharted territory, 7th and 8th rounds for the first time in his career, and having been off the track, as it were, for more than a year, he has certainly ticked that box in some kind of style so far.
Yeah, and it hasn't always been... Oh, that's a good shot there from Eubank. It hasn't always been pretty from him, but I think when you're boxing someone like McDonagh, a southpaw, boxes well on the move, then I think you have to be a little bit crude with some of your work to get success. You have to get inside the reach and sort of rough him up a little bit, be more physical.
Yeah, and he was, and there was just the danger early on that he could have been frustrated, Barry, by the good boxing of McDonagh, which was working so well for him through the first 3 rounds, I think it's fair to say. A bit more sort of polish, guile and composure, I think, is the right word to apply to what Eubank has done since then.
But he's grown in confidence where McDonagh has waned in his. I think that's what it's looked to me, to be honest, and that's been the difference. Because McDonagh doesn't seem to be that hurt. He's taken some good shots, he's taken them well, but just the punch output hasn't been as frequent as it was earlier on, and certainly the snap in the shots has reduced dramatically.
And a measure of that, Barry, we just saw again there, another strong left jab for Eubank, which he was unable to land at all through the first half of the fight.
And considering Eubank's front foot is usually in the wrong position to land that jab in the first place, so shouldn't be getting much success. But he has found his rhythm, he's found his range, and you can see how loose and the flow in his shots.
And the left hand for Eubank, the fight turn of the story of it?
Yeah, the left hook, certainly. He landed some good right hands, but the left hook was, that first left hook he landed with that really did the damage. It's all been downhill from McDonagh from there, really, but that's been the punch of the night.
Great credit to McDonagh. He really has had to tough this out down the stretch. Things were getting particularly difficult, tough, really deep water he was swimming in from round 4 onwards. And he's copped a few heavy shots down the stretch too. There's another one. Huge left hand. He's in a bit of bother with 30-odd seconds to go. McDonagh hits the canvas for the first time in the fight. He's struggling to get to his feet in time. He's running out of time, and he has been stopped right at the very finish.
Well, that's... To be fair to Eubank, he kept committing. I don't think he was ahead at the end, of course, and he could have just been sensible, not take any silly risks, but he wanted that stoppage and he went all out for it. You've got to give him his credit for that. His engine, talking about, was he rusty or, how would he cope with the energy at the end? But he looked as strong as ever and as fast as ever. And again, that left hook caused all the damage. The first left hook McDonagh then just a little bit shook up from that, looked to hold on, but not strong enough with that grip, and the left hook and the right hand to follow it over. And then McDonagh really there was on the floor, probably thinking, listen, I might just sit this one out.
I think how much he knew after those two big left hands, and it was the succession of big punches prior to that as well. An extraordinary finish for him, and the icing on the cake from what was a dominant second half of the fight. Let's bring in Spencer Fearon once again. We didn't quite need the cards, as you hinted at halfway, Spencer.
Yeah, we didn't need the cards, but you know what? Fair play to McDonagh because he fought very, very gamely. But you know what? Credit has to be given out to Eubank because Eubank could have taken the easy route because he was ahead on points in my eyes. So he could have easily gone to points, but if he bit down his gum shot and he was looking for the stoppage from like the fourth round. He was looking to try and get the stoppage. Those overhand rights and those left hooks were paramount in this fight. And you know what? Congratulations to him. But you know what? Fair play to McDonagh because he was very, very game. You guys, what do you think?
He was terrific, the young man, wasn't he? In defeat, he was absolutely terrific, pushing himself through the pain barrier all the way down the stretch. And I think Spencer's right. Harlem Eubank, the way he went about that in the 8th round, you know, that is a real credit to him and a message for any young fighter. Let's get confirmation of it now with Phil.
The contest came to an end after 2 minutes and 36 seconds of round number 8. Martin McDonagh failing to beat the referee's count. Therefore, your winner by count out from Brighton, Harlem Eubank.
Well, Barry Jones, we've seen a bit of Harlem Eubank last twice, and we've said he is getting better. This is the biggest test of his career, and that's as good as he looked.
Well, let's go back to the amateur days. He's boxing a guy who's beat him twice. So, you know, you say this is the pro game, it's different. But, you know, it's still a test for him. And I think he came out there against an awkward guy, struggled to find his distance, as you would against a southpaw who's a constantly moving target. But he stuck to his task, even though I thought he was behind after 3 rounds and maybe 4 rounds. But he was always looking just to slide that front foot forward, go close enough, couldn't find his distance. But when he did, look at that beautiful left hook, and that's where it all unraveled there for McDonagh. That fantastic left hook, and once he found his range, Eubank just relaxed, and his shoulders were relaxed, his movements were sharp. Just see the whip of the left hook there from Eubank, and you could he had the feeling of a fighter that knew that he was going to get the stoppage, even though we couldn't see it coming. He knew, he was confident.